you draft nerds out there. My name is Draft Raw, and thank you for tuning in to In the Clutch. Once again, this is In the Clutch, and I'm your host, Draft Raw, and in this video, we're going to talk about the top cornerback prospects of the 2021 draft. So let's just get straight into it with the first player, or let's say first three players we're going to talk about, is the consensus top three guys on a lot of draft media scouts boards, and that is Virginia Tech's Caleb Farley, Alabama's own Patrick Surtain, and South Carolina's own J.C. Horn. Now, who you have as the top cornerback is kind of all over the place, right? If you listen to all the draft media scouts, some guys have Patrick Surtain, some people have Caleb Farley. Now he's kind of dropped down boards because of injury, but he may come back up because his medical recheck seemed like it was pretty good. And then even some people have J.C. Horn. I'm in that boat. I have J.C. Horn as the top cornerback in this draft. The reason being is honestly, it's because he is a dog. When you see guys that have come out recently in the draft, like the Jalen Ramseys of the world, he was an absolute dog as a cornerback. The Marlon Humphreys of the world, the Tre'Davious Whites, like these guys were absolute dogs. They played the position like no other. They played the position like how you would see some of the top cornerbacks of old days, the guys like the Charles Woodson, the Mel Blunts of the world, and so on and so on. This guy plays this position with so much high energy, so much physicality at the cornerback position. And to be honest with you, his man-to-man coverage, which is pretty much the essential, like the biggest thing that a corner needs to be able to do is cover guys man-to-man. He is the best out of the bunch. He is physical. He likes to get his hands on guys, and he stays in their hip pocket. And then, which is probably the biggest thing of his game, is that he has perfect ball skills. When you see this guy play, he gets his hands on the ball, he gets interceptions, he knocks it down. Like, this guy does everything, and he competes, and that's the biggest thing that I love about J.C. Horn. He competed with every receiver that he played this year, and he never backed down. He got beat on the play, he came right back and locked that receiver down for the rest of the game. You can watch the tape, you can see it for yourself, but for me, J.C. Horn is the number one cornerback in this draft class. Now, if you was to say, who's my number two? My number two would definitely be Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley is another guy that he is probably the second best man-to-man cover corner in this draft. But the other greatest thing about him is that his athleticism really takes him up there, and he's just off the charts. The simple fact is that he runs within the 4.2s and 4.3 in terms of speed. His recovery speed is probably the best that I've seen in a long time. He can get beat by a receiver and be able to recover and make a play on the ball, something that you don't see from a lot of cornerbacks, even in the NFL, be able to do. His athleticism is just off the charts, and it just jumps at you off the screen. He's got the ability to play off coverage, whether he's playing in man or zone. He got the ability to be able to press guys at the line. He's pretty much, I wouldn't say all around, because I think that he could be in a certain type of defense. I would say like the Seattle defense, where we've seen the Richard Shermans and the Brandon Browners of the world kind of flourish, where you're playing a cover three and you do some man here or there. That's what type of system I think that it will probably be best for him to be in. But if he's not in that system, I think he can go into other systems that even just do straight man-to-man. A system like the Steelers, what they run with their zone and their zone blitzes, is probably not the best for him. I would think a system where like the Baltimore Ravens run, where they run a lot of man coverage, is probably going to be the best system for a guy like Caleb Farley. With the athleticism, with the ability for the man coverage and what he can do in zone and cover three and everything that he has and what he brings to the table, that's what makes him the second best cornerback prospect in this draft. Now, is it consensusly? Do I really think he's the second best? I think he's actually is tied with Patrick Surtain, who I'm going to get into right now. Patrick Surtain from Alabama is absolutely one of the most versatile cornerbacks in this draft. He's the only cornerback that I can see that can literally play in any system you can think of. I just talked about the Steelers system with their zone blitzes, talking about Seattle system with their cover three, talking about the Ravens system with their man-to-man coverage system that they use. He's the guy that you could put him in any system and he's going to flourish. The only negative about him, which is the reason why I kind of push him down a little bit lower, is because he does not look for the ball. His ball skills, when the ball is in the air on deep passes, his ball skills is absolutely horrific. He reminds me a little bit of Marlon Humphrey coming out, and Marlon Humphrey has gotten a little bit better at that. So there's something where you can see a guy like who actually played at Alabama like Marlon Humphrey. They come from the same school. And they kind of play similar. So you can see where you have a guy like Humphrey that actually got better at it. Even though he's still not good at it, he's got better at being able to track the football. And you're hoping that a guy like Patrick Surtain could actually get better at doing that as well. Maybe he can become a Marlon Humphrey. Who knows? But when it comes down to it, all in all, these three guys are the top three consensus guys in this draft class. Now we're going to get into some of the other players that you may not know, maybe you heard some names of, but I'm going to give you a little bit more of a raw breakdown of some of these cornerbacks. First one I'm going to talk about is Elijah Molden from Washington. He's a nickel safety hybrid. A lot of people are looking at him as possibly being a free safety in the NFL. I look at him as being a straight nickel corner. I think that that's the perfect role for him. Just because you play nickel corner doesn't mean you have to be a starting free safety. You can pretty much be a starting nickel corner, which a lot of teams are doing nowadays anyway. They're replacing a linebacker with either a corner or a safety. He loves to attack the line of scrimmage, something that even at his size, it's a little surprising to see, but at the nickel cornerback position, you have to be physical and you have to be a little bit more aggressive because you are replacing a linebacker. He loves being physical, and whether it's in press, whether it's anything, any type of coverage he does, he just loves to be physical. He can get shaken off the line. Sometimes you can see him, a guy just gives a quick little move, and his feet or hips are not quick enough to be able to stick with that particular receiver. So it does happen here or there, but overall, he's still a good, solid corner. I think probably the best position for him to play in the nickel would be him playing off coverage and not being pressed. He can be physical, he can press, but the problem is that he is susceptible to being shaken off the line of scrimmage, and he is a good tackler. Obviously, when you're playing the nickel position, you have to be a good tackler. Like I said, you're replacing a linebacker, so you still kind of have to fill the role of what a linebacker does, but also be aware that you are still a corner and you have to cover these fast, speedy receivers. Next guy we're going to talk about, I actually like a lot, and I almost put him a little bit higher on my rankings, and that is Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome from Northwestern. He has fluid hips, he has quick feet, he's a great tackler. He played a lot in zone, but shows he can go man to man, and he has really great instincts. His man-to-man cover skills, it actually may be better than who I talked about earlier, Caleb Farley. It's not better than J.C. Horn, but it actually may be better than Caleb Farley. It's just that in college you didn't see it a lot. He was mostly in the type of system that I said Caleb Farley would probably thrive in, and that's that Seattle cover 3 system. I think that with Greg Newsome, he can go in both that man-to-man and cover 3 system just like Caleb Farley. The only problem is that the school he played at, he didn't play the best competition all the time. So it kind of knocks him down a little bit. But He has the speed, he has the hips, he has the quickness, and he shows the tenacity to being a corner within the NFL. Next guy we're going to talk about on this list is Tyson Campbell from Georgia. Now, as I'm naming some of these guys, this is not literally how I rank these players. So it's not like Elijah Molden is my who I think is the fourth best corner. It's not like Tyson Campbell is who I would say is the sixth best corner, because he's not. I'm just going to name the names of the tape that I watch and in the order that I watched them. And the next guy I watched after Greg Newsome was Tyson Campbell from Georgia. Natural press corner. Just natural at being a press corner. He's a good tackler. He's aggressive. Obviously, if he's a natural press corner, he's very aggressive. He needs to work on his feet. The worst thing about him is that he doesn't have the greatest feet. And being a corner, you have to have really good, quick feet. And being able to read and react with your feet. It wasn't the best when it came to Tyson. And actually, if I was to rank the corners, he actually would be lower on my list. And another big reason is because he's a little bit grabby. I've seen a lot of times where there was some pass interference here or there, but anytime he played a really, really good receiver, he had to grab them a little bit, and he had to kind of be a little bit more physical, and he ended up getting himself in trouble. This is something that could cause problems within the NFL. And even though I think that he has the skill set and the traits and the athleticism to be really, really good, he has to improve on his footwork to become a more smoother corner, to be able to play man-to-man and in the zone and everything that the cornerback position requires. Next on the list we're going to talk about is Aaron Robinson from UCF. This guy, he needs to work on, he always keeps the play in front of him, but he gives up catches a bit. Sometimes, a lot of guys that keep the play in front of them tend to kind of give up the easy catches. It's just kind of like, oh, you're going to do a 5-yard out route. I'm going to just give you that. He's one of those guys, though, that if you try to go deep on him, he's going to cover that the best way he can. He has good feet and good hips, which shows, like I said, when he's covering deep. He has small arms, which may limit him to being a nickel corner and not a outside corner. But he does show high energy. He shows the type of energy that you want to see in a defensive player in general, to where his high energy, I thought, actually kind of gave more energy to the UCF defense and team in general. And that's something big. And if you can do that at the corner position, a position where you're playing pretty much completely away from the defense, you're not in the middle, you're not near the line of scrimmage, you're off to the sidelines. With that being said, like, for a corner that's playing away from the defense to give energy to the entire defense is saying a lot. He seems like he's a good leader, which shows high character, which pretty much tells me that he could be a really good locker room guy. And if he actually does become good in this league, he can be a guy that can be not just a leader in his locker room, but a leader within the NFL and like the NFLPA and all the stuff that they do there. But showing that good high character and showing high energy is something great for any team that chooses him. Next, we're going to talk about on this list is Josh Bledsoe. Not going to go too deep into him. He was a solid nickel corner / safety hybrid. He didn't really show me nothing special. The only thing I pretty much saw was that he played the position of nickel corner / safety. So it wasn't nothing spectacular. He was just solid at playing the position. Next, we're going to talk about is Marco Wilson from Florida. Quick feet, smooth hips, aggressive tackler, tighten man coverage, doesn't give up a lot of space when he goes man-to-man. Off or press, it doesn't matter. Whether he's pressing a guy at the line of scrimmage or he's playing off, it doesn't matter. He was one of the more physical corners that I saw in this draft, especially for the size that he has. I believe he was like 6 foot, 190 pounds. It's solid size, but it's not the 6'1", 215 pound type corner or whatever. But he showed a lot of things that, even with a corner at his size, that you would really, really like. He actually may be a better prospect than C.J. Henderson, who was a top 10 pick of last year's draft. Now, that there are corners in this draft particularly that I think are better than C.J. Henderson anyway. But just to give kind of like a level of where Marco Wilson is, because they both did play at Florida, I think that he may be a better prospect than CJ. And like I said, with the things that he showed on tape, there's a role carved out for him in the NFL, and I think he could be a really good starting corner within this league. Next, we're going to talk about on this list is Shakir Brown from Michigan State. Typical zone nickel cornerback. He does have the ability to play on the outside, but I think his strong suit will be in the nickel role. He has great instincts, and he's aggressive. He has very aggressive ball skills. A lot that I've seen throughout watching a lot of these cornerback prospects is the ball skills. Some of these guys' ball skills were pretty solid, and he was one of the better guys with the ball skills. Being able to track the football within the air, being able to read and react, he was one of those better guys. He seems like he's a very, very smart cornerback that recognizes routes and kind of knows what's going on, which allows him to be as aggressive to the football because he can kind of determine what route is being run and where the ball may go. Like I said, one of the better corners that I watched in this draft, but I think that just like Elijah Molden, he should be a strict nickel corner, and I think that that's a good role that's going to carve out for him within the NFL. After that, we're going to talk about the other Georgia corner, and that's Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes has good feet, but his hips are okay. He's better in man, and he does have some ball skills, and there is a particular upside when it comes to him. But the simple fact is that he can't turn his hips as smoothly, especially with the type of athleticism that he does have, is a concern. Yeah, you can have quick feet, but being able to open up your hips to be able to cover passes downfield is very important because every single second counts. And if you're kind of like a hair slower, he pretty much get beat on a lot of big-time deep ball plays. And that could be a huge concern. Yeah, he has the athleticism to play the position. He has the feet to play the position. He even has some ball skills to actually play the position. But overall, the hips are very important because it could be life or death on the outside there. And it could be the difference between having a game-winning interception or the game-winning deflection to the game-winning touchdown for the other team and you looking like the GOAT and not the good GOAT. Next on this list, we're going to talk about Ifatu Meleaanu, who played at Syracuse. Great size, 6'3", 215 pounds. Aggressive, can play the run, looks for the ball while it's in the air, good tackler, and moves fluid for his size. I want to say this here. He is probably, in my rankings, probably the 5th best corner in this draft class. His size pretty much sold it for me because everything else that he does is exceptional. And the simple fact is that he can move the way he can move for a guy his size. You don't find that often. And I know that he had a brother that came into the league a couple of years ago and it didn't work out. But rumor has it his brother actually didn't like football that much. This is a guy that you can tell as he plays, he loves the game of football. And he's going to be somebody that is going to be a sleeper, underrated in this draft class. And whoever gets him may put him out there as a starter day one as a rookie. He has that type of skill set. Next, we're going to talk about is Paulson Oibo from Stanford. Ball hawk. That's the biggest thing about him. He's a ball hawk. He has great instincts. He attacks ball carriers, but sometimes he will take the wrong angle, and he's natural in zone coverage. I would say that's his best. His absolute best trait is his zone cover skills. Besides his ball skills, his zone cover skills is his best trait because he can read and react. He's the type of guy that if we're talking about systems here, I will put him in the Steelers system, that zone blitz system, where they're playing the cover 2, the cover 3, the cover 4, the cover 6. Strictly in zone, that's his best trait. He's not the best in man. I mean, all corners have to have at least solid man cover skills. But I can tell you this, his zone cover skills is better than his man cover skills, but his zone cover skills is probably better than guys who man cover skills are better. His zone cover skills is better than theirs, than the guys who are good in man. Like, that's how good of a player he is. And who knows where he's going to land within the NFL, but if he goes to a team that runs a zone system, watch out. He's going to be a baller. And last but not least, I have to talk about this guy. I'm up and down on him, right? Because I have one guy that says that he's the second best corner in this draft class. I have a lot of other people that have put him in their top 5 and even in their top 10. And there's a little bit of like them saying that he will rise up the draft boards a little bit. And his name is Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky. This is why I'm up and down on him. He's athletic as heck. One of the most athletic corners in this draft class, right? Probably not as athletic as Caleb Farley, but he's close. Fluid hips, solid ball skills, good recovery speed, natural man corner. When it comes to man-to-man coverage, he's just natural at doing it. He's probably one of the more natural corners in playing man-to-man coverage that you're going to see, besides J.C. Horn and the other guy that I talk about, Greg Newsome, even Marco Wilson. But the thing that he needs to improve on is being a tackler. Corners don't have to be great tacklers. They don't. But with Kelvin Joseph, if you want to be one of the top guys, not just in your draft class, but in the NFL, you have to improve on your tackling ability. The top 3 guys that I named, they're great tacklers. Absolutely amazing tacklers. And then some of these other guys that I've named, the nickel corners that I've named, the Elijah Moldens of the world, Greg Newsomes of the world, so on and so on, they're pretty good tacklers. He has to become a better tackler. He does that, sky's the limit for him. He's going to be one of the better corners within the NFL. So anyway, that was the last guy on my list. I thank all of you guys for watching, and wait to the end of the video where you can find out where you can follow me. Peace. Thank you once again for tuning in to In the Clutch. Once again, my name is Draft Raw, and if you want to see more videos from me, then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Draft Raw. And if you want to hear more from me, then you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at the same name, Draft Raw. Once again, thank you. I'll see you next time.